I'll bet you've been wondering how I'm making my videos. How am I writing on this crazy board? First of all, this type of a board was not my idea. I learned about it when I was at the FlipCon Australia conference a year ago, and I got introduced to this crazy idea of what some people like to call the Lightboard. Also, it's been branded as the forward board. A special shout out to Joel Speranza, who I learned about the forward board from Australia, an amazing flip class educator down under. Encourage you to check him out on Twitter. He's the one who really introduced this to me. Another place to really learn about how to build a lightboard or a forward board is to go to lightboard.info. But follow the instructions in this video and you can make your own, and your flipped class videos can be amazing. So let me give you a bit of a diagram of how this works. First of all, what I am standing in front of is a window, okay? Old window, all right, with a frame that I bought at a used window store, okay? By the way, I spent about $50 on this window, all right? An old window that I cleaned up. I'm standing behind the window, and then over here, if you will, this is that's the back of the window, if you will. Probably that looks like better if I'm that way, okay? Behind the window. Over here, I have a camera. And this camera is shooting at me. And you'll say, wait a second, John, how are you writing backwards? I'm not, all right? In fact, if I hold up my book and you look carefully, what you might notice is that it looks backwards to you because I have flipped the image. What I do is I shoot the camera, I shoot the shot, if you will, and the shot then comes at the board, and then I use software to flip the image. Now let's talk about how I set that up. And so I'm gonna, if you will, turn the lights on and show you the setup. So now I've zoomed out, and this is the same exact setup that we had before, but I've not reversed the image. You can see the window right here, and then you can see everything here that is flipped. And everything looks backwards. And I'm standing on the opposite side because this is the unformatted, it's the sort of uncropped version. Notice down here that I have a light. Now the light is shining up on the board. The reason I have the light shining on the board is because it allows the words to stand out. I'm using a neon expo pen, and the reason I use that is I'm trying to fill the glass with light. The next thing you might notice right back here is that this is a black sheet. So I have a big black sheet back here that allows for me to have the black background. It's just, I bought it on Amazon for, I don't know what it was, relatively inexpensive. Photographers would use this. Other things you can't quite see is above me is a light, which the batteries just died. But there's another light right here that shines down on me. It's a top light. Another thing you might see here is I have another light shining on the glass because I want to light up the board as much as possible. So right here, now we're behind the board, and if you look at the board, you can kind of see the LED lights here that rim the whole window. You see, here's the bottom of the light board, and you can again see the light board, and then you can see the rimmed glass. And you might notice also that I've actually, with my Canon software, I've actually got my computer hooked up. And as I look at the computer, it actually is mirroring what I can see on my camera. And right here, if you look at the very top of the board, you actually can see how I've hooked this up to the ceiling. What I've got is I've got some old, actually bicycle hooks with some eye bolts hooked up into the board, and you can kind of see the board here and how it all hooks up. So here's what it looks like here in the whole scene. I'm in my shop. I'm a big fan of using a tripod to have everything work. And you can see that I'm just simply in John's shop. Not the neatest place in the world. Now I'm near my back light. Now watch what happens when the light goes off, is it changes the whole reflection. And then as I move in and I'm gonna go hop onto my tripod, I can then zoom in on the scene. I've got the light there, but I can zoom in on this light. I think that's one of the key things is I can zoom in. As I zoom in, that's essentially the shot that I'm shooting. The software I'm using to do the forward board thing is called Final Cut Pro on a Macintosh. Not the cheapest software, but I found it very useful. So I'm going to just kind of walk you through very quickly how I would do this. I grab a scene from the video that we just watched, and what I can do is I can move this
board around. And what I'd like to do is kind of zoom that. Notice how it looks backwards. But what I need to do is actually flip the image. So one of the buttons on here is what they call the transform button. It's just magic like that. Now notice I've got this white line. I'm a big fan of cropping. So I can now crop the video. And I can get rid of that light as if you don't even know it exists. Kind of tune it up. I like to transform it, just kind of make it fit the full screen. And with the black, it's just got the black back there. I go done. Another tool I like over here is I can click on here and do what I call the color correction. I can really make the darks go better. And I'd like to just monkey with the exposure. My light on the top right here, it actually died. And so I've got a bit of an issue with the darkness issue. So I'm going to just sort of probably leave it the way it is. It just didn't light up because without that top light it kind of creates a problem. But I think that'll work. And then I can trim it if I have some writing. So like when I get to where I draw the board, you know, one thing I like about this is it's got the speed up feature. So when I wrote FlipCon right here, what I can do is I can like trim it and click here. And then one of the features in Final Cut Pro is to make it fast. And now if I play back through here.
The FlipCon Australia.
Now it's a little laggy. The reason it's a little laggy is just simply because the computer is processing it. So real quick, how I do the software editing.
Let's briefly talk about the camera for a moment. When I first started making these videos, I started just using simply my iPhone. Put my iPhone on a stand and it worked. And you know what? This is a fine tool, the iPhone or you know, whatever, a smartphone. Eventually I felt like I wanted a little bit more control, and so I did buy a more expensive camera, video camera that has seemed to really help the quality of my videos. So you can spend as little or as much as you want on the camera. The one that I eventually bought, by the way, if you care to know, is I bought the Canon model. I bought the T6i, and I've been a huge fan of that particular camera. Not inexpensive, however. Another thing that's important to note when I'm making this video is you might notice that I have a microphone. This microphone is plugged directly into my camera. Now, like I said, I'm using the Canon T6i. Before that, I bought an inexpensive microphone, a lapel microphone, that I connected to my iPhone. These exist, and you can buy them on most retailers like Amazon.com or whatever. So keep these things in mind. Another thing you might ask is, how do I get these images to appear into my glass? Is it actually appearing on the glass? The answer is no. What I'm doing is I'm using video editing software, and there's lots of different ones, doesn't matter which one I'm using, to bring in other images from my computer. So I've got the images, and I can say, at this second I want this video to come here, and I can make them like opaque so you can see my hand behind it, like here with the Bloom's taxonomy. And actually I'm not seeing it right here. I know kind of roughly where I'm going to put it, and I can adjust it to where my hand is. If say application is right here, I can make sure that my hand is there when I'm pointing at application. So there's a lot of tricks to making a flip video like this. It does take a lot of time, and sometimes you may not have the time to make a video of this level and quality, but it really is a powerful way to make a flip class video.